Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Story Rift. Today, we will be ranking the Stormlight Archive. So, I recently finished the Wind and Truth novel. In case you haven't seen it, I also have a video. I'll put it, probably link it in the video somewhere. So, just keep an eye out for that. I also have a new mic. So, if it sounds good, let me know. If it sounds bad, also let me know so I can cry myself to sleep tonight. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I do cry myself to sleep a lot. So, I'm used to it by now. But with all that out of the way, let's start off with number five, which is Rhythm of War, my least favorite novel. If I had to sum up why this is my least favorite, it would probably be the magic elements of this book. Obviously, Sanderson has always been known for his magic, but in this book, I think he leans a little too heavily into it, especially the parts with Navani and Rabonio. Rabonio? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, the parts with Navani in this novel really bog it down. I don't know, it's just too much focus on the anti void light stuff for me. Just wasn't as intriguing. We also didn't get to see much of Dalinar in this novel. Now that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just kind of something that me personally, I wish we would have seen more of him. But considering he was in Oathbringer a lot, that whole novel was pretty much all about him. I can kind of get why they kind of keep Sanderson put him on the back burner for this. Another thing that I really didn't like about this novel, and I think a lot of people online agree with me, is Kaladin. You know, he's hidden in the in ear through whatever, and I don't know, it's just his character kind of feels a little stale at this point. Yeah, I don't know, in this novel it just feels like Kaladin's kind of there. It feels like he's going through the motions, not that interesting. And it just kind of adds to this kind of, I think it just adds to the problem of the year through parts of this novel are just not very good in my opinion, and really bog it down. Now I really did enjoy Shalin in this novel. Her hunt for the Ghost Bloods was pretty interesting, even though, you know, the Ghost Bloods aren't the coolest or the most interesting, like, you know, faction in the world. I don't know. Just seeing Shalin kind of play the more spy role in this novel was pretty interesting, and very much more interesting than the other parts of the novel. I also think another thing that really bogs down this novel is the Venli flashbacks. And I think Sanderson even and I think even Sanderson himself said that he wasn't a huge fan of the flashbacks for Venli in this novel, and I'd have to agree with him. It's just, I don't know, not very interesting, and it feels kind of pointless at times. But I mean, overall, I didn't hate this novel. It's just, like I said, the stuff that I just mentioned kind of bog it down for me. There's not really any big like plot issues I have with it. It's just the plot that is there is not that great in my opinion, and honestly, it's kind of forgettable. Like even now, I'm struggling to remember everything that really happened in the novel, unlike the others in the series. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be number five for me. Number four, I probably won't talk too much about this just because I did a review on it, but Wind and Truth is number four for me. Uh, it was all right, I guess. It's like, it was fine. I think that's the best way to describe it. A lot of people online seem to really love it, so I mean, hey, if you loved it, that's fine by me. I just personally didn't think it was as good as the first three in the series. The best part of the novel for me was the Siege of Azir with Adeline and Yanagon. You know, their relationship in this novel was pretty interesting to see, and it was nice to see Adeline get a little more page time, if you want to say it. Shaolin in this novel has the same problem, like I said in my review. She has the same problem that Kaladin did in the fourth book. You know, just, I don't know, it just felt like she was going through the motions. We did get the revelation that her mother is, you know, a herald, but you know, other than that, I don't know, her character just kind of felt a little flat. Even though the ending of her character, I think, could be taken in a good direction. So I'm hopeful that she'll make a comeback in the next novel. Now, Navani takes a back seat in this book compared to the Rhythm of War, which I think is honestly a good improvement. I don't know, after her kind of very boring sections in the last book, it's nice to see that she kind of took a, it was nice to have a break from her. Like I said in my review, I think just the heralds don't really work for me. There's too many of them and not enough personality with them. I don't know. The whole cosmic element of the Stormlight Archive is just kind of flat for me and very uninteresting, which kind of, you know, tainted my enjoyment of this novel since a lot of it is focused on the cosmic elements. With that being said, I think the ending was decent. I could definitely see the next novel being an improvement. and I think I might actually enjoy the next novel, depending on where it takes it. Next on my list is Oathbringer at number three. To be honest, I am a huge fan of Dalinar, so this book was pretty much, my cup of tea, as they say. It feels a little bloated, I will say, but for the most part, I mean, I really enjoyed seeing Dalinar's, the flashbacks with Dalinar. I think they were really well done. Seeing Dalinar kind of bring in all of these different nations to fight Odium, I think was really interesting, and obviously it really meshed well with his origin kind of coming to life, and I thought that part was really well done. I think the novel could have been shorter, and when the book focuses on other people other than Dalinar, I find it a little lacking. It was also cool to see Shadesmar kind of expanded a little bit more. It's always fun when they go to Shadesmar. It's very different from the overworld or whatever you want to call it. Very enjoyable parts of the novel. And obviously, the Battle of Phelan City I thought was really well done. A very interesting way to end the novel. I don't know. It's nice to see more climactic battles in the series. I also really like that Dalinar published his book at the end. I think it's really amazing that his character kind of, embraces the darker side of himself and kind of admits it publicly. And, I thought that was a really interesting way to end a novel. So number two for me is Words of Radiance. Now it was very difficult to decide between the first and second place. The plot for this one is really amazing. I think it blends nicely the more cosmic elements of the story with the more grounded elements in a way that I think matched a little bit better than the ones later in the series. Shalyn joining the others was also really fun to see. She was kind of separated in the first novel, so kind of seeing her brought into the main plot was pretty interesting. Even though I really like that fake out death with Jasna as well, that was really well done, and I was actually kind of pissed because I thought she was dead, and she was like one of my favorite characters at the time. Yeah, and also Shalyn's flashbacks in this to her childhood were really good too. As much complaints as I have about her character in the later novels, getting to see a little bit more of the vulnerable side of her backstory was a really good way to take her character in this one. Kaladin making peace in this novel with his old life and stepping up and being a leader now for Bridge 4 was really amazing. It was just such a great evolution of his character to make him a little more hopeful, but he also still has those doubts within him. I also really enjoyed Shalyn and Adeline kind of, their bond growing. And I'd say their romance is actually pretty good in this series. It's not as fleshed out in other series, but I think it's really enjoyable seeing those two together. And of course, Kaladin saving Adeline during the duel scene was really amazing. To be honest, that I think that's just one of the highlights of the series for me. Just really well written and just two characters that are kind of at odds with each other, but I don't know, that scene just is so good. I mean, it's one of my favorite parts of any novel, I think. Dalinar is great as always, but I think the standout for me was Moash in this one. Him trying to kill the king. I thought it was really well done and really brought in to question Kaladin's loyalties. And I think the best part of Words of Radiance is really those character moments. He really nails them, and I think it's something that later in the series, those nice character moments between his main characters just don't hit as well as they did in this novel. Having Seth kind of be the main villain or antagonist of this novel really helped as well. Just a very interesting character, and he was kind of fleshed out in Way of Kings, but in this novel, it really feels like he's one of the highlights. One of the better characters in the series. I was also not expecting Adeline to kill Sadius. That was pretty awesome, to be honest. I didn't even think it was like real. I thought it was gonna be like I don't know, like a dream or something. But I don't know. I think that really took some balls to write that in, and that was a really good way to end that book, in my opinion. And number one is The Way of Kings. Oh man, this novel. I think this series is really at its best when it's just more character focused. I feel like the series, when it focuses more on just Roshar itself and the conflicts between the different nations and the challenges in Alethkar itself, are really the highlights for me, and that's why I think this is just my favorite novel. The whole part with Kaladin bonding with Syl and just bonding with the other members of Bridge 4 and getting them through the war was just so amazing. I mean, I can't put into words how well this was written. And everyone on Bridge 4 felt very unique. And they're, obviously at the beginning they're very hesitant to follow Kaladin, but the way that it progresses and the way that their characters really just mesh well and form a team was just really well done. And I mean, I just I don't know, this novel really feels like a one in a lifetime novel. I don't know. It's just it's one of those novels that feels so unique. Dalinar's visions in this novel are just so good at pushing the plot forward, but you still kind of wonder if if he's just insane or if this is like visions from God or something like that. It's really well done in that way. Also, seeing the focus on Alethi culture was really interesting, and honestly, it's just I wish that he would do more of these cultural, dives into his different nations in the next few novels. I really just really enjoyed seeing how Alethkar is run compared to the real world or different fantasy worlds in general. I don't know that focus. I just really wish they would bring that cultural focus back. Shalin and Jasna, their chapters in this, well, I guess it's just Shalin, but you get what I'm saying. Their parts in this novel are so good. I mean, Shalin, this is really where she shines, I think. While she is kind of distanced from the plot, her sort of sneaking behind Jasna's back for her brothers was just, I don't know, it felt so unique in the fantasy world. Jasna may not have been my favorite person in the series, especially later on, but in this novel, I think she's really good. Her and Shalin play off really well together. There isn't many earth shattering moments in this novel, if any, but honestly, it doesn't really need it. It's just a very character focused fantasy story for me that is very contained, but so interesting in the way that it's handled. I think it's easily one of the best fantasy novels ever written, and you could really tell Sanderson spent a lot of time on this novel. But anyways, that's my ranking. So if you agree, let me know. If you disagree, also let me know. And make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video. I plan on posting a video like every week. Well, trying to. So, yeah, subscribe if you want to stay up to date. And anyways, I will see you in the next one.